So I know this sounds bad, but I honestly can't stand looking at my own website and business right now. I legitimately cringe at it, and the look and feel of my business just feels so off and not me. And honestly, it's felt this way for like a good year more now. And so today I want to show you behind the scenes of what I'm changing and why. Plus also what's not changing, because, well, a lot I am burning to the ground and literally rebuilding from the ashes. A good number of things are also going to stay the same. So a little story time, so this all makes sense. This was the first ever brand board that I put together, and the logo I DIY'd and made when I was 25 years old. And I'm now 33, so this was feeling way too young and light and airy and springtime and, well, beautiful. It just felt kind of outdated and like completely unaligned with who I am and my style. And honestly, I feel like also like the experience and depth of knowledge that I've built up over 8 years in my industry. And it just kind of felt like a young girl's brand. This lady over here has more than a couple of gray hairs now and also a heck of a lot more experience than she did when she created that. I also speak quite a bit differently than before. My copy and tone of voice was always very young, and I haven't really spoken like that in my real life for some time now. So I wanted my brand and my business overall to take a step in the more like mature direction, while still of course keeping a good like femininity to it. Now, I definitely don't want some like corporate professional brand, but I do want a brand and a website and like feel and communication tone which fits me more at the like age and stage that I'm at in my life now. So let me just clarify, the branding is the problem. A big problem. My offerings, courses, etc., those are all staying. I love those things to this day, and they genuinely feel like fully aligned with what I want to put out and offer into the world. But the way this entire business like puts its best foot forward, the way it makes an impression, that is a thing which has been like so painful for me to witness over the last year or two. And now, honestly, even a couple of years ago, I was actually feeling this, and I knew a rebrand was necessary, but I also knew that a major aspect of rebranding was not just the visuals. Yes, the visuals definitely need to change, but in order to do a like true rebrand, one that comes from the core, it's also about setting a direction and future plans for the company and really having a clear vision of where you want the business to go. And literally up until like last year, I was kind of hazy on exactly where I wanted myself and my business to be, like 5 years, and definitely had no clue where I wanted it to be in like 10 or 15 years. And so I see a lot of like people rebrand their business like every year or two, new logo, new name, new site. And honestly, I think it's a bit of a waste. Yes, you definitely need to update stuff over time, especially your website. A website that's more than like 3 years old definitely starts to scream like I'm outdated after a while. But a brand new like brand and logo and color palette and mission and vision statement every year or two is mostly just confusing to your customer, and honestly is like super time consuming and probably just not the best use of money if you do it like all of the time. But thankfully, last year I took a good fair chunk of thinking time and experimenting time. And I'll be honest, the emergence of AI was originally actually what lit the fire under myself to get serious about what I wanted my business to be. When ChatGPT came out and I thought, wow, this thing's pretty cool. Wonder what's gonna happen in the web designer space. I spent a legitimate month learning all that I could about AI and its potential impacts on my industry. And it really made me question things which I just hadn't considered before. So I thought about things like, okay, if the web designer industry was no longer a thing, what would I want to do? What sparks joy in my life now? What are my new interests and hobbies which have developed over the past 8 years? And what would I do if I didn't want to or couldn't do what I do now? And in the end, after my giant, like literally I took a month-long like period of time to just do this like massive AI research project, I came to the conclusion my industry is gonna be totally fine. If you want my full thoughts on like the future of the web designer industry and AI, then this video up here will explain that, by the way. But the genie had been kind of let out of the bottle, and I honestly was blessed with this time and space that I created to ask myself questions which I had never considered before. Now, I was asking myself, who am I? What exactly am I talented at? Like, what do I love doing and enjoy doing in life and in work? And what do I want to bring into the world? And my mind ran wild. I feel like I really nailed down how I want to build this business as a personal brand while also still building things outside of myself, like business brands, which could be sellable assets if I wanted to sell them. But I feel like I'm kind of going on a tangent here. So last year, basically, I questioned everything about my business and I came up with the exact plan of what I wanted to keep as is and the new things I wanted to build and how I wanted this personal brand to show up in the world. So let me share that with you. Things I want to change: the branding and the site design and the copy tone. Things I want to keep: the current offerings and courses, and things I want to add: new product lines which are owned by their own individual little business brands. Basically, think of it as like a parent and a child. My personal brand will be the parent and the business brands will be the children owned by the parent. I don't know, is that wrong to say that a parent owns their children? I don't know. Whatever. For this context, it works. Now, the personal brand is still where I produce the content and show up myself, but I'm also building like sellable business assets, business brands. Now, I don't have any specific plans to sell those things. I haven't even created them yet, but I have read a few books on like selling businesses now, and I do love the idea of building a sellable asset because then honestly, it's just like a better running and operating business, and you're just keeping your options open. And in terms of exactly what the new product lines are, they're, I'd say, a little bit unexpected and unusual. And there's a few of them. And I have both ideas for product lines, which I can create quite soon, but also ones which are literally going to take me like 15 to 20 years to build and also a significant financial investment. So I can't share what they are yet, but over time, these things will come out. So yeah, this was a pretty long-term vision that I cast. And in terms of how I wanted my personal brand to show up in the world, that one I think is quite interesting. Really keen subscribers will know that I launched a second YouTube channel last year, a very much so like lifestyle channel under my married last name. Brunton is my maiden name, by the way. And in the end, I determined a few things from that. One, I don't want to build your typical like lifestyle influencer business, but I also wasn't happy with how personal my current personal brand was. And I decided to basically like integrate those two things. So what if I created content like an influencer does with like vlog videos with like segments to them, but with like a business educational kind of spin on it? So when say like your influencer does like a makeup segment and like tells you about their skincare, I'd have a business education segment or a like behind the scenes of my business segment. And similar to influencers, I wanted to include more of life, doing like house renos or redecoration or things I'm buying, but not just in personal life, in business too. But because I have a business, however, there's a few things which I don't want to do, which influencers do, which I could imagine that they're probably not all too thrilled on. Like for example, documenting every moment of your vacation feels like the absolute opposite of unplugging from your work. And I'm sure it's probably not their favorite thing to do. So I determined I would definitely be open to documenting business trips because it's work anyways, and maybe a day of a personal vacation, but like that's it. And probably not even every vacation. So basically a more personal brand, but also creating little independent business brands too feels like a really good model to me. So speaking of the behind the scenes of the business, let's get into exactly what this rebranding process has looked like, where we're at now, and I want to show you the logo and color palette and the visual elements that we've created up until this point. FYI, it's not done, but like it's a work in progress. And of course, if you're considering going through a rebrand, I hope this gives you an idea of what that process actually looks like. Step one, if you're doing a rebrand, I dreamt up where I wanted the business to go, what I wanted the business to be, and I also got really clear, because this is a personal brand, also like who am I? Which is like a very existential question. But I also made a Pinterest board to show this sort of like visual representation of that. And I had created this Pinterest board like a year or two ago because, well, it took a lot of time and thinking space to determine the like earlier bits, like who am I? Where do I want the business to go? The actual visual bits were like pretty clear to me the entire time. I have a slightly unique, but regardless, very strong sense of taste and style and what I like. And honestly, that's been the very easy part of this whole thing. So here's a peek at the Pinterest board to give you an idea of the brand vibe. So yeah, you'll notice on this board a lot more, let's say like neutral toned colors that you would find more in nature, a bit more, again, mature and elevated with some, you know, I love a good frail and femininity, but I also love some really like clean, beautiful aspects, like say for example, this image here. It's just like, this was an image where it was sort of inspiration for the photo shoot. And I was just like, I wonder where I could find a location that looks like that. And I found one, which one second I'll show you the photos, or some of them, definitely like aligns. And yeah, we also get a lot of like European vibes happening in this brand board or Pinterest board too. I love old things, I love charm and character, and I feel like the brand that we're creating is definitely like representative of that. Step number 2 was to find a great brand designer who goes deeper than like, what logo style do you like? Because a good brand designer should really be like digging out of you who you are, who the business is, what's the vision, who's the ideal client, who are the competitors, how are you different, and of course, what is the visual style direction too? And honestly, if you get a good brand designer and strategist, you as the business owner, even though you're hiring this out, you should actually probably still have a fair bit of homework to do. So I hired Dropcap Design because the business owner, Katie, I've known her for 8 years. We formed a little mastermind together when we took B School 8 years ago, and I've always loved her branding work. And she is so talented, both with the visuals that she produces, but also I knew that she went like pretty deep with her clients, which if you're some sort of service provider, do know your potential clients can be lurking and just like waiting in the wings for almost a decade or more before they choose to work with you, as I did with Katie. Clients get in touch when they're ready to do a rebrand and they might love your work, but just not be in the right place themselves to actually hire you. So I encourage you, if you're a brand designer, web designer, whatever, keep showing up and sharing your incredible work, because it takes a ton of touch points and trust building and potentially years before someone is actually ready to work with you. Now, step number 3 for this was my client homework. So Katie sent over a document, which genuinely took me an entire 8-hour workday to complete. I mean, I wanted to be like very thorough and ensure that they knew everything, so the branding would be like really aligned with the business, myself, and where I hope to take it. And then from there, Katie turned that into a brand strategy document, which basically summarized her understanding of everything that I had shared to ensure that we were on the same page. Now that was 30 pages, which covered things like who my ideal clients are. She gave me a bunch of tagline ideas, which was so helpful. It detailed my offer suite, the current offerings, my new ideas, the transformation, which each offer like took someone through, the main brand stories that should be repeated throughout my content, how my business could be positioned in the market, how it's different from its competitors, etc. And step number 4 is when we get to the exciting bit, the actual visuals. And my gosh, I did not realize how hard this part was going to be as a client. So I am super used to just like creating visuals myself and trying to communicate what I want, while also not trying to like step on toes and genuinely wanting the branding team to be able to like do their work and use their genius was honestly quite challenging. So we started with a few variations of logos. And of course, once you actually see them and then you think of them in like the practical sense of like use on your website, it changes your thoughts a little bit. And so this was the very first version that they shared with me and the different logo concepts. We started with these, but I realized I wanted my main logo with my name to be very easily readable and simplistic with just a touch of creativity. And so we actually went away from these concepts, which were a bit more complex and wouldn't be as easily used, say, on my website. And we moved on to this, which has just a teeny tiny bit of creativity with the A and the B here. And that, I feel like just this one with like no tagline or anything can work really well on my website. And then when it came to the crest, they made me a couple. So there's this one here, and then there's also, ta-da, this guy here. So this is a drawing, which one of their team members made from my house, which shout out Maxine who did this. I mean, that is talent. I don't know how she did that, but anyways. So the crest, I felt like that was something where we could get a lot more detailed and creative with it. Because in terms of the actual like use of the crest, it's really just like decoration, and like the details and the text readability doesn't matter as much, as it's mostly just to like add visual beauty. And it's just an aspect of the design. Like the text is just an aspect of the design. So again, we went with a sketch of the home that we live in, my name, and then the business tagline, and then de Suisse, which means in French from Switzerland. So you know we run this business from Switzerland. It's very typical for businesses to do like established in or like from London or whatever, something like that in their logo. And I am so thrilled to be operating this business and living in Switzerland. And so I felt like having it as part of the home that we live in, or having the home that we live in as part of the logo, it just felt really fitting to add that. And then when it came to the color palette, I literally like can't look at my own brand's blue anymore. We just had it for so many years and I had enough of looking at it. And we actually took all of the blue off of my site like a couple months ago and we just replaced it with a black, just as like a placeholder color until we actually had time to like implement this rebrand, because I literally couldn't stand looking at the thing anymore. Which annoyingly, it's made our website look like very generic with this like black and beige vibe happening, but it's better than having to spend another year looking at my like 25-year-old blue color choice. So it is what it is. So when it came to the colors, I was feeling really called to a really like natural green color. Our home is surrounded by greenery and nature, and green is the color of the countryside and such a calming natural color, and it felt again like really fit with the stage of my life. And so we have a beautiful muted poppy red in there too, which again is coming back to practicality. Also having a standout color is always helpful for a website or marketing materials, really to like draw the eye to something specific, like a call to action button, for example. And then also having a couple of colors and like shades is really great for making the brand feel a little bit more like complete and refined instead of just like before, just having like the one primary color, the blue, along with black and white. It felt a little bit one-dimensional. So that's colors. So step 5 is the one that we're working on right now. We're implementing this branding into like blog post designs and slide designs, etc. So we can have our marketing elements be sort of like cohesive and aligned with the new branding. But when it comes to the website, I love that bit and I definitely have the talent and desire and vision for it. So I'm gonna do that bit myself, both the copy and the actual like site design. And that's gonna be a project that I take on probably over the summer, maybe into the fall, depending on my workload. We'll see when I get around to that. But then step number 6 was, of course, you need this if you're gonna do a new brand, new photos. So if you've been watching the past few vlogs, I mentioned that I was heading to Paris to do a photo shoot, and I actually filmed bits of it, and so I will add those vlog clips in a moment. But just to give you a few tips if you're organizing a shoot for yourself, first thing is the location should fit the brand vibe. So I have a very like quintessentially words, English style. I'm all about like the patterns and the tassels and the fringes on sofas, but I also like keeping a sort of like simplified elegance and not going too over the top with like the wild style that you sometimes find in English properties. And so I use that Pinterest board as my guide for choosing a location. Now, obviously my own home would be the most practical. It's actually quite a major hassle to need to go travel somewhere else to do a photo shoot and bring all the props and stuff with you to do the shoot. That was very heavy. But we've only moved into this house recently and there's no light fixtures on the ceilings and there's no curtains on the walls, and the rooms all feel a little bit unfinished because honestly I just haven't gotten around to finishing them yet. So while I would prefer to do shoots here timeline wise, I didn't want to rush decorating our place. So I started looking elsewhere for somewhere that had like a similar feeling. And so I was actually mostly looking in the UK, but I actually found a hotel in Paris, which was this like perfect mix of like Parisian elegance with British style. And so that led me to hunting for a Paris-based photographer who didn't do just like your typical like shots in front of the Eiffel Tower and like touristy things, but actually had a lot of like creativity and an artistic touch to their work. And I actually didn't intend to get a single shot with the Eiffel Tower in the background, but at our outdoor location, I mean, it just happened to be there and you were able to see it. So a few photos do actually have the Eiffel Tower in them, but that wasn't really intentional. And I don't know how much I'll use them. We'll see. We will see. But enough talking about the Paris photo shoot, let's show it to you. So I'll leave chatting about branding here. If you have any questions about like branding process, do leave them in comments below. But otherwise, we'll roll the clips of the Paris trip. Hello and welcome to Paris. I just got here a couple hours ago. I took the train over, which is quite literally exactly 4 hours and 4 minutes from Zurich, which I feel like is a really good for to drive it would take at least 7 or 8 hours or something. Plus you had traffic and finding parking and all those things. So quite happy with that. The reason I am here to do a photo shoot is because a few factors have sort of converged to mean that I needed to do it now and here. So first thing is that I would prefer to do a photo shoot in my own place, in my own apartment. It is fully your own style when it's done in your own place, and there's not the hassle. You can prepare everything really well. You're not limited on time or anything, but the problem and the downside with that is that we actually still don't have any lamps on the ceiling. We don't have any curtains, and there is almost no artwork on the wall. So the apartment that we're in now is, well, I have been in it for a few months. I don't want to rush furnishing and decorating just so I can do a photo shoot. That makes no sense. And right now we're also doing a rebrand, and so we need new pictures to go with the rebrand, and so I really had to get a photo shoot done like now. It's been on my to-do list for a while. Our last one was 4 years ago. I literally haven't done photos in 4 years, and I don't really like, this is not my favorite job to do in the business by any means. It is a lot of work and a lot of money and just a lot of time and all those things. So I just kind of postpone it until I absolutely have to do it. And now I really do absolutely have to do it. So it is happening tomorrow morning. I am about to hang up all the outfits, which I will wear tomorrow, steam them, get them all ready. I actually brought a light with me from Zurich, which was very heavy in my suitcase. Because in case the lighting's not good, we're gonna I know from filming YouTube videos the importance of light, which I'm not using for this video right now, but whatever. It's a vlog. It's real life. Yeah, so need to prepare, get everything ready. Tomorrow morning at 6:30, a hair and makeup artist is coming. At 8:30, I believe the photographer is coming. We're gonna be shooting in here for a few hours, and then we will also maybe go outside, and just in the area around here, there's just some beautiful streets and buildings and everything. Granted, the weather is not really playing ball on Apple weather. It says it shouldn't have rained yesterday, today, or tomorrow, but it has been pouring yesterday and today, so it might pour tomorrow too. So I brought a very cute umbrella, and the photographer also has a location right near the Louvre, which is apparently really good to do photos outdoors while still being in a covered area. So we have sort of like a backup situation happening. This hotel room is literally the most beautiful thing I think I've ever stayed in. Like, it is just exceptionally gorgeous. The reason I picked finding the right hotel to do this in was so tough. I was looking at like hotels and Airbnbs and just like rental spaces and everything. And I feel like I have quite a specific style, and I feel like the style is very important for this rebrand, and so it really had to be right and not just anything. And so this hotel room specifically, loving all the detailing on the walls, the style of the furnishings, the style specifically of like the curtains and all the fabrics with prints on it and everything, like that is very much so my thing. And so when I was researching hotels, I spent a good amount of time trying to find like the exact right thing. I feel like this one fits the best, the vibe and the style which I'm going for. So I feel like I'm just like sitting in my, like, if I could design my brand and live in it, that would be this hotel room. So let's do a little photo shoot prep. Okay, it is a good few hours later. I was chatting to my family, so I didn't record anything, but I hung up all of my outfits for tomorrow, steamed them, so they're all looking good. Just put out all the props, which I have, books, crafty items to make like a mood board and everything and do a photo shoot of that. I'm just going to take a shower. The makeup artist told me to have my hair dry, face clean tomorrow morning. I'm not a morning person. I'm not someone to wake up early, but I'm gonna try to force myself to go to bed early in order to be able to wake up early. I have a really good book, which I'm reading right now, which I would highly recommend. And I try to read it before bed because that's like the best way that I can get myself to actually want to fall asleep. And it is called The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. Quite the name of a book. I'd heard about this book for such a long time, and from the name I was like, I have literally no idea what this book is about. Anyways, the guy's name is Naval Ravikant, And anyways, it's just, I don't know, like his lessons in life. And the book is so good. I have 2 good friends from high school who I give we kind of share book recommendations. Actually the only 2 people who I keep in touch with from high school. But yeah, they're really close friends of mine. So I sent them a text the other day. I was like, you must both go buy this book right away. It's amazing. So anyways, would definitely recommend. He just has such, I don't know, such clear ideas and clear thinking and clear understanding of the world and life and everything. So anyways, definitely recommend that. That is what I'm going to, so I'm gonna take a shower, set an alarm for tomorrow. I tried ordering room service already, but I can't do that until tomorrow. Get in bed, try to fall asleep early, wake up bright and early tomorrow morning. We'll see how much of this I can actually remember to film tomorrow. I will hopefully do a good job and be a good vlogger. But yeah, I'll share clips with you as we go tomorrow. It is now 12:30. I have still not gone to bed. I just can't sleep until I've done everything that could possibly be done and prepared. So I have uploaded my outfit photos into the shot list. I have hung them up there in order in which I'm wearing them. I've also created little brand boards all over, which we can take different photos with tomorrow, so I'll show you those too. This is the first. I'm imagining light will be good here because it's right beside a window. Then if we come into the sitting room, I have another one at the table here. And then a final one up on the mirror, which some pictures keep falling off of, so I'll have to put those back up tomorrow. Okay, the hair and makeup is done. It's always way more makeup than you wear in real life and just feels very odd, but then when you see it in pictures, it's the right amount. So anyways, we are in the first outfit, ready to shoot. The hair and makeup artist has just left. She was so lovely. It was nice to have a good chat with her for 2 hours. Definitely woke me up as well. The photographer is just coming up from reception, and then we have lots of shooting to do. Realized we've been shooting for an hour, and then the photographer was like, don't you have videos to shoot? Yes, I do. This photo will be the most realistic yet, me working in bed, which is what actually happens. We've done, I think, 3 outfits so far. We have, no, 2 outfits so far. We have 5 total, and we've made, I'm impressed by how quickly we've actually gone. It's only 10:30. I think we are leaving at 12 or 12:30, and we got a lot done already. Very happy. Bit number 3. Okay, that's a wrap on shooting. I am so exceptionally tired. I'm going to sleep the entire train ride home. That was a very long shoot. It was 4 hours. Stopped for lunch. It felt like a lot. But hopefully now I won't need to do another shoot for another 4 years.